We're rolling. Hi everyone, this is M6JKA, back again with another video. I've just grabbed myself a cup of tea and I'll probably end up going stone cold now because I'm going to waffle for about 20 minutes about this. It's the Hytera X1P. Anyone that's familiar with Hytera radios or even uses them will know what this radio is, because it is the top of the range sort of handheld covert DMR radio from Hytera. So this is absolutely amazing. I am absolutely astonished by this radio. It is stunning. It's very, very slim. It's got an absolutely amazing colour screen on here, high resolution as well. You know, very, very sharp. You can see it in the daylight as well. And you know, it's a great looking radio. But besides that, it actually functions very, very well as well. There's some great features in it. But basically, it's sort of along the same class as the Motorola SL4000, which is a very, very sort of small, almost heading towards smartphone type radios, where you know, you've really sort of designed for covert operations and you know, people that want to use something that doesn't really seem like a walkie-talkie. It's more of a you know, a cutting edge crossover device, really. That's the way I kind of describe these things. But there's not really any. There doesn't really seem to be any kind of trade-off on performance, because these radios perform like, you know, like you'd expect a radio with a you know, larger antenna, fully you know, big whacking great walkie-talkie type, you know, stereotypical type radio. But anyway, this radio is a DMR radio, so it's a digital radio. It operates in the UHF band only. It also does FM, which a lot of the Hytera handhelds do, which is really, really useful. And it has GPS as well. You know, the programming, you can see there, that's normally covered over, but I've been playing around with this in the CPS, just experimenting with stuff, and had to write a code plug from scratch on that. But more on that sort of later. But this radio, I mean, it's quite interesting because it's actually got your sort of standard, you know, your normal features that you'd find on a very, very simple DMR radio. A lot of them are very, very simple out there, these radios. Basically, they've got you've got a channel selector and a volume, a nice analog volume control, which actually isn't really analog. It controls the digital part of the volume control. But what's useful about that is it allows you to set a very, very low volume. If you're just, you know, casually listening somewhere, you want to put the device up to your ear and just have a quick listen without actually, you know, attracting attention to yourself with blasting DMR voices coming over over the radio. So this is really, really nice. You know, nice volume control. Normally you get buttons, like on the SL4000, you've got buttons to basically control the volume up and down. But this little analog style thing is really, really, really useful for that. So yeah, we've got so, you know, full digital capabilities. You've got you know, you can obviously use all the standard DMR stuff like 2 time slots. You've got text messaging in here as well. You know, you can do that. There's quite a few different things which are almost sort of proprietary, I suppose, to Hytera. Like the text messaging won't allow you to text message other radios of different types. Like I can't do that. I tried to send a text message to the Motorola, but it won't work. I think there's a firmware update for Motorola's though to allow that, but I don't know. It's one of these things that's probably you know, cross compatibility is a bit of an issue. Anyway, so what we've done really, I mean, I've kind of started from scratch with the CPS on this radio, and you know, let's put that down there, and got one of these leads, the programming lead, which is, you know, pretty straightforward. It's a USB based programming lead, and you just, you know, use your Hytera CPS software to create a code plug by reading the radio first and then changing stuff. It's quite easy to do. Now, what's interesting about this radio is it allows you to program it also from the front panel, which is absolutely, you know, that's a lifesaver. If you're using this for ham use, this is absolutely incredible. So you have to activate this in the CPS first. So you can't do this without, you can't really program a radio from scratch without a CPS. Even though you've got front panel programming, you just can't do it, because basically, you need to turn this programming, system on, front panel programming. You have to turn it on in the CPS to allow this menu to even show, and also you can't do things like talk groups and stuff like that. So you're pretty much stuck. You won't be able to do it. But what it allows you to do is program, change frequencies and things like that of the channels that you've already put in. So here you can put in frequency. I won't do it. It's just gone out of my menu. But basically, you can set your frequency, your slot, and your color code based on the program channel that you're on. So as I say, I won't go into that because otherwise it will reset the channel that I'm in. But what I've found, which is quite a useful thing you can do, is what I did in my UHF simplex channels. So these are FM channels going in here, and let's just scroll up. What I did with this is basically I put in a channel called free channel. Now if you put in that, then what you can do then is you can just go menu, programming, frequency, and you can type in your frequency. So 433, 500, and then 433, 500, and then select. And then you've basically just used that free channel to do almost like a sketchpad channel, which is really cool. Love that feature. There's not many DMR radios you can do that with, but I mean there are a few just sort of creeping through now, but none really on this sort of level, radio wise. So that's quite a useful thing. Just adding a free channel in there just so that you can use that to edit on the fly. Ham radio guys that are using this, like myself, will love this, because you can just wander out with the radio. It's such a small little radio that you can just slot this in your pocket, go unnoticed pretty much, and then you've got a really powerful transceiver, albeit UHF only. But I mean, most of the digital repeaters and stuff these days are sort of UHF anyway, and unless you've got a big antenna, you're going to struggle to hit all the VHF ones anyway. But really, this is a great little carry around all the time radio, which is what I'm going to do, because I can't tell you, you have to see one of these radios. It is stunning, completely and utterly, in every way. I mean, it's really geeky to say it, but I don't really care, because other people have said this as well, so I know I can't be the only one. Namely Mick at Radio Swap in the UK. He's going to love me for mentioning him. But yeah, we had a conversation about this, and it's up there on. I think it's probably the highest quality and most fully featured miniature radio, in the DMR sort of segment that you can probably get. It really is. Anyway, enough of that. I'm just going to carry on going on how good it is. But yeah, I mean, we've done some tests with normal tests with range and things like that. It accesses all the repeaters exactly the same as the other radios do. Analogue as well. Absolutely no problem hitting all of those. The same repeaters with the smaller antenna, actually, because it's actually using an antenna like that. Whereas on the I don't want that to fall over. On your sort of amateur based radio gear, you've obviously got larger antennas. I've not found that actually makes too much difference on UHF. Even the one on the SL4000, I've managed to get into a repeater about 30 miles away. So that's just saying something really for what the technology inside that. I mean, I've ripped one of these little antennas apart as well, an old one that was broken. I replaced this one, and yeah, I mean, I don't understand what's going on in there. Others will, but it looks like it's been planned out well. It's not just a spring like you'd find in a PMR 446 radio. So yeah, this is some of the menu things we've got in here. So you've got GPS and you've got Bluetooth. GPS is set up. You can view your position. You've got your full bunch of information in there, all in there, and you've got, you can set time zone. You can also set, obviously, turn the GPS on and off if you want it on. It won't actually do anything. The GPS doesn't really do anything unless you program it into the in the CPS, which I'll show you in a minute. What I've done is I've set up a almost like a Motorola, call it ARS, I think, but Hytera, or I think they call it RRS or something, but it's basically allows your position to be transmitted. You can either do it at an interval, or you can do it. There's different ways of setting it. But anyway, let's just get back to a digital channel. So we're going back into zone. What I've done here is I've set up a few different repeaters, local. Well, they're not really local, but some of the ones in the south where I usually go, and yeah, so we've set up all these repeaters as different zones, and I've also got the UHF DV simplex frequencies. So what happens? That happens because you've gone out of the range. These have got numbers on here, so if you try and select a channel out of the range of out of the range of what you've actually got programmed in there's only 7 channels in there. Then it will show that little error. It sort of freaks me out a little bit first. Anyway, so we're on channel 3 there. And what I've done with this, I've actually set this to any digital channel that it's on at the moment. This is kind of experimenting, but it is basically transmitting a GPS signal every minute or so. So it's a bit like your APRS, where it will just almost beacon. Now I've just done this on this channel, as a sort of test for test purposes, and I haven't got another radio to actually to test it. So what I did was I've set up on the PC. I've set up SDR, Sharp, and DSD Plus, which allows you it actually decodes the GPS coordinates from the radio. From a DMR signal, it will pick up GPS. So you see one just pulsed there. That's actually coming from this radio. And then you can see down here, down at the bottom, where is it? I've got my finger in the right place here. There's GPS coordinates going off into that way, over the other side of the screen. That dumps them into a log file on on DSD Plus. You can see the full location there, but basically it dumps into a log file on in the DSD Plus folder, and then you can use their program, which is called LRRP, to display the information on a map. I haven't managed to get that working though. For some reason, it's not. All the data's coming across from the radio, but for some reason it's not actually showing up on the map. So I'm gonna have to get on the forums and find out what's going on with that. But anyway, that just shows you. So what it tends to do is when you change your channels, you see it there, it's popped up there. When you change the channels, it sends out a beacon. Now there's a really good little website actually which has all the information for setting up your Hytera radio for GPS. This won't work with Motorola, or Motorola even. It won't work with Motorola Motor Turbo repeaters. So in the UK, there's very few Hytera repeaters anyway. It's probably not really worth worrying about too much at the moment. But there's a good little website. I'll try and dig out the link and put it in the description. But it basically tells you how to set it up in the CPS, like the GPS part of the CPS, which it's kind of being careful on how many beacons you transmit and things like this, because it takes up bandwidth on the actual DMR system and the repeaters and everything like that. But yeah, you can do that, and I've kind of set it up into the right mode, so it's ready to go when if there's a Hytera repeater comes online near me. But for now, I mean, this is quite interesting. It might lead to actually sort of me getting these coordinates pulled out of that log file and just dumped on aprs.fi, so I can walk around with the radio and actually sort of it'll beacon its position and show me on a map. It's quite cool. So that's that. The other thing with this radio, just moving on, and what I'll do is I'll just turn it off so you can see. When you turn it off, like a not like a normal radio. You've actually turned that off, and then it takes a second to sort of turn off. Other thing about this radio, which is a major plus, is the fact that you can just put on an SMA antenna. If I can do this whilst I'm holding my phone as the camera, you'll see here, there is an SMA. How often does that happen on a commercial radio? Which is another great reason for this radio being so good. So I haven't got one of those little SMA things handy. It's plugged into the dongle, the RTO SDR dongle. But anyway, it looks small. It looks like there's not enough space. But one of those little ones from Maplin will just screw straight on there. So you can have a SMA to BNC, and then your world is your oyster when it comes to antennas. So there will be a plan to test this out in the car with the little mag mount on the roof. That is a major plus point. This antenna seems pretty good as well. It doesn't seem to be too much of a trade-off. It's a bit smaller than some of the sort of whips out there. They do a longer whip for this, actually. I think there is one that you can get. So there you go. Right, let's just turn that back on. First thing that happens when it turns back on, if it gets a GPS signal straight away, which it might not, the fix is usually pretty good actually on this. Then it will just do a beacon. It does a beacon, but when you turn it off as well. I don't know if you saw that. I can't remember if it actually did or not. There's another radio like this, which basically just looks like that. And is it the P? It's the D or the E, or I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. It didn't really interest me too much because I don't really like simple radios. I like radios where you can actually sort of do a lot of stuff on the radio itself. But basically, it looks like that. You've got a microphone on the back here, and you've also got the speaker. The main speaker is on the back of the radio, which they also say that that is the front really, because your PTT button is on the left when it's that way around, and on the right when it's on that way around. But it doesn't really. I've found I just use it this way around because I like to see the screen, and it don't really bother me. It doesn't actually make any difference really. But you've got two microphones. You can select those in the CPS as well, front and back. The CPS software is really good as well because it shows you there's little helpers in there. Maybe I'll do a video on that at some point. But there's little helpers in there which show you the radio and show you the buttons that you're changing. If you're changing features on the buttons, it will show you a photo of the radio itself. So anyway, move on. Charging. This little radio, I think it tends to charge pretty quickly on the supplied charger. The only weird thing is you've actually got to put the radio in that way around. So no chance of showing off that nice front panel and screen to all your mates, because it's going to be sitting that way around in the dock. But there was quite a useful video which showed that, because I think if I hadn't seen that, I probably wouldn't have read the manual and I would have just tried to force it in the other way around and probably busted something. But it goes in that way around. Red when it's charging. There's also a yellow status on here, which means you can grab the radio if it's on the yellow status. It's kind of almost full but not quite there. But it's sort of good to go in effect. Green when it's fully charged, and then you've also got a battery pack thing in the back there for doing an external battery. But I found it charges quite quick. You lose 1 bar. I mean, just walking around the town earlier with it for about an hour and a half. GPS beaconing every minute or so. It probably knocked one out of the 3 battery bars over that sort of time. So yeah, it's not too bad really. I mean, everything on the CPS. Let's go back to the CPS grid. Everything on this radio is completely configurable. It's very, very comprehensive, the CPS on this actual radio. You can turn the LEDs off. Another thing that I've done, which I will mention, I don't know if I can find it here because I can't remember where all the things are yet. is basically your tone settings. Now these radios tend to make a lot of noise all the time when you first get going with it. It'll bleep when you turn it on, it'll bleep when it gets a signal, it'll bleep when it loses a signal, it will speak to you, tell you the channel number, it'll bleep when you push a key. It's all these things I just find a little bit annoying. So I have set this radio to silent, radio silent, and you just put that on and bang, all the tones go. I mean, if you want text messages and stuff like that, you can just select what tones. There's a massive setting in the CPS which, you know, basically just allows you to change all the tone settings, you know, for every single thing. So you can have some on, some off. But I've just set it to silent because it's the easiest way of just making the radio quiet and you know, nice to live with. You've got a little function button up here as well, which I've programmed to do high and low power, which, you know, we sort of tend to like to have that in easy reach, us hams. Helps you sort of you know, reserve the battery a little bit. And yeah, another thing, the lead, the CPS lead, obviously I've mentioned that, you know, it's that funny kind of proprietary thing they always have on sort of radios of this kind of caliber, really. You know, no USB port on this one, I'm afraid, but it has actually got a full interface on here, so you can do a proper radio to computer network with this. You know, there's not really any restrictions. You know, there's not really anything stopping this radio. There's nothing at all. So I mean, things are going to be interesting as it moves forward. Audio quality, it's, you know, I haven't really played around too much with that. It's obviously just going to be where it's at, really. I mean, for a commercial grade radio, I've always had fantastic reports on the Motorola. You know, I might have had to adjust the gain a little bit here and there, but you know, generally very, very good. So I mean, you know, I will say again, amazing little radio. Really is another level of technology. And yeah, I'm going to be using this a lot. It's going to be, I think it's going to be the go-to kind of slip in the pocket one for accessing the local repeaters and things. I've still got to do a bit more on the code plugs on this one. I wrote a code plug from scratch, and it took about, I don't know, probably a few hours to get everything, you know, get everything mostly where I want it. But there's still quite a few repeaters and still quite a few contacts and things that need to be put in here. So you know, for now, that's the kind of next project. But there you go. So any questions, welcome below. Hope you enjoyed the look of the Hytera X1P. Catch you later, guys.